Welcome to the Bards Bounty 2021. Empty Space Players is proud to present 16 soliloquies and monologues from Shakespeare's plays. The cast is comprised of a few community members and LSUA faculty and staff, but mostly LSUA students, the majority of whom have never performed on stage before. We hope you enjoy this digital program of Shakespeare. Juliet wishes for the night to come, because that is when Romeo can make his appearance. She is ready to lose her virginity to him and understands the modesty and love behind the act.
Thou know'st the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek for that which thou hast heard me speak to-night. Fain would I dwell on form, fain deny what I have spoke, but farewell compliment. Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy words. Yet if thou swear'st, thou mayst prove false. A lover's perjuries, they say, Jove laughs. O gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or if thou think'st I am too quickly won, I'll frown and be perverse and say thee nay, so thou wilt woo, but else not for the world. In truth, fair Montague, I am too fond, and therefore thou mayst think my behaviour light. But trust me, gentlemen, I'll prove more true than those that have more cunning to be strange. I should have been more strange, I must confess, but that thou overheardst ere I was ware my true love's passion. Therefore pardon me, and not impute this yielding to light love which the dark night hath so discovered.
Hamlet's first soliloquy informs the audience of his intense negative feelings toward his mother's remarriage and highlights the inner turmoil those feelings create within him.
Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew! Or that the everlasting had not fixed his canon 'gainst self-slaughter! O God, God! How weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world! Fie on it, ah, fie! 'Tis an unweeded garden that grows to seed. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely, that it should come to this. But 2 months dead, nay, not so much, not 2. So excellent a king that was to this Hyperion to a satyr, so loving to my mother that he might not beteem the winds of heaven visit her face too roughly. Heaven and earth, must I remember? Why, she would hang on him as if increase in appetite had grown by what it fed on. And yet, within a month, let me not think on it. Frailty, thy name is woman. A little month, or ere those shoes were old with which she followed my poor father's body, like Niobe, all tears. Why, she, even she, oh God, a beast that wants discourse of reason would have mourned longer, married with my uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my father than I to Hercules, within a month, ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left the flushing in her galled eyes, she married, oh, most wicked speed, to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. It is not, nor it cannot come to good, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue.
After valiantly telling his sister Isabella not to give up her virtues to save his life, Claudio cowardly begins to muse about how he does not want to die.
Ay, but to die, and go we know not where, to lie in cold obstruction and to rot, this sensible warm motion to become a kneaded clod, and the delighted spirit to bathe in fiery floods, or to reside in thrilling region of thick ribbed ice, to be imprisoned in the viewless winds, and to be blown round about with restless violence among the pendant world, or to be worse than worst of those that lawless and uncertain thought imagine howling. 'Tis too horrible. The most loathed and weariest worldly life, to age, ache, penury, and imprisonment, can lay on natures a paradise to what we fear of death.
Antiphalus of Syracuse makes a bold attempt to woo Luciana. Luciana is the sister of Adriana, who is married to Antiphalus of Ephesus, Antiphalus of Syracuse's twin brother.
Sweet mistress, what your name is else I know not, nor by what wonder you do hit of mine. Less in your knowledge and your grace you show not than our earth's wonder, more than earth divine. Teach me, dear creature, how to think and speak. Lay open to my earthy gross conceit, smothered in errors, feeble, shallow, weak, the folded meaning of your words' deceit. Against my soul's pure truth, why labor you to make it wander in an unknown field? Are you a god? Would you create me new? Transform me then, and to your power I'll yield. But if that I am I, then well I know your weeping sister is no wife of mine, nor to her bed no homage do I owe, far more to you do I decline. Oh, train me not, sweet mermaid, with thy note, to drown me in thy sister's flood of tears. Sing, siren, for thyself, and I will dote. Spread o'er the silver waves thy golden hairs, and as a bed I'll take them and there lie. And in that glorious supposition think he gains by death that has such means to die. Let love, being light, be drowned if she sink.
Cordelia, King Lear's youngest and favorite daughter, refuses to play along with the love contest her father is trying to play. Unlike her two sisters, who are willing to flatter their father to no end to get their inheritance, Cordelia will not play along. In response, Lear flies into a rage, disowns Cordelia, and divides her share of the kingdom between her two sisters.
Unhappy that I am, I cannot heave my heart into my mouth. I love your majesty according to my bond, no more nor less. You have begot me, bred me, loved me. I return those duties back as our right fit. Obey you, love you, and most honor you. Why have my sisters husbands if they say they love you all? Happily, when I shall wed, that lord whose hand must take my plight shall carry half my love with him, half my care and duty. Sure, I shall never marry like my sisters, to love my father all.
Beatrice overhears her friends talking about how proud she is. They say that she is so bitter that she will find fault with any suitor, no matter how handsome or kind. This upsets her, and she decides to give herself to Benedict to marry.
What fires in mine ears? Can this be true? Stand I contemned for pride and scorn so much? Contempt, farewell, and maiden pride, adieu. No glory lives behind the back of such. And Benedick, love on. I will requite thee, taming my wild heart to thy loving hand. If thou dost love, my kindness shall incite thee to bind our loves up in a holy band. For others say thou dost deserve, and I believe it better than reportingly.
Proteus admits that he has fallen in love with Sylvia, having all but forgotten his first love, Julia, in the face of this more beautiful competitor.
Even as one heat another heat expels, or as one nail by strength drives out another, so the remembrance of my former love is by a newer object quite forgotten. Is it mine, or Valentine's praise, her true perfections, or my false transgressions, that makes me reasonless to reason thus? She is fair, and so is Julia that I love, that I did love. For now my love is thawed, which, like a waxen image gainst a fire, bears no impression of the thing it was. Methinks my zeal to Valentine is cold, and I love him not as I was wont. Oh, but I love his lady too much, and that's the reason I love him so little. How shall I dote on her with more advice, that thus without advice begin to love her? 'Tis but her picture I've yet beheld, that hath dazzled my reason's light, but when I look on her perfections, there is no reason but I shall be blind. If I can check my erring love, I will. If not, to compass her I'll use my skill.
Hermione laments all that she has lost in the hands of Leontes, her crown, her daughter, her son, and even the right to rest after giving birth.
Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. To me can life be no commodity. The crown and comfort of my life, your favor I do give lost. For I do feel it gone, but know not how it went. My second joy, and first fruits of my body, from his presence I am barred like one infectious. My third comfort, starred most unluckily, is from my breast, the innocent milk in its most innocent mouth, haled out to murder. Myself on every post proclaimed a strumpet. With immodest hatred, the childbed privilege denied, which longs to women of all fashion. Lastly, hurried here, to this place in the open air, before I have got strength of limit. Now, my liege, tell me what blessings I have here alive, that I should fear to die. Therefore proceed. But yet, hear this, mistake me not. No life, I prize it not a straw, but for mine honor which I would free. If I shall be condemned upon surmises, all proofs sleeping else but what your jealousies awake, I tell you 'tis rigor and not law. Your honors all, I do refer me to the oracle. Apollo be my judge.
Richard reflects on his own ambitions for the crown.
I'll make my heaven to dream upon the crown, and whiles I live to account this world but hell, until this misshaped trunk which bears this head be round impaled with a glorious crown. And yet I know not how to get the crown, for many lives stand between me and home, and I, like one lost in a thorny wood, that rends the thorns and is rent with the thorns, seeking the way, and straying from the way, not knowing how to find the open air, but toiling desperately to find it out, torment myself to catch the English crown. And from that torment I will free myself, or hew my way out with a bloody axe. Why, I can smile and murder whiles I smile, and cry content to that which grieves my heart, and wet my cheeks with artificial tears, and frame my face to all occasions. I'll drown more sailors than the mermaid shall, I'll slay more gazers than the basilisk. I'll play the orator as well as Nestor, deceive more slyly than Ulysses could, and like a Sinon take another Troy. I can add colors to the chameleon, change shapes with Proteus for advantages, and set the murderous Machiavel to school. Can I do this and cannot get a crown? Tut! Were it farther off, I'll pluck it down.
Julia is in disguise as Sebastian, Proteus's page. Proteus asks Julia to deliver a ring to Sylvia, the same ring Julia gave to Proteus before leaving her for Milan. Julia laments her lost love.
How many women would do such a message? Alas, poor Proteus, thou hast entertained a fox to be the shepherd of thy lambs. Alas, poor fool, why do I pity him that with his very heart despiseth me? Because he loves her, he despiseth me. Because I love him, I must pity him. This ring I gave him when he parted from me to bind him to remember my good will. And now am I, unhappy messenger, to plead for that which I would not obtain, to carry that which I would have refused, to praise his fate which I would have dispraised. I am my master's true confirmed love, but cannot be true servant to my master unless I prove false tracer to myself. Yet will I woo for him, but yet so coldly, as heaven it knows, I would not have him speed. Gentlewoman, good day. I pray you, be my mean to bring me where to speak with Madam Sylvia.
The monologue takes place in a courtroom in Venice. Portia has just entered dressed as Balthazar, a young lawyer sent to adjudicate the case. She acknowledges that the contract is binding and that the only solution is that Shylock must show mercy to Antonio. When Shylock asks, "On what compulsion must I? Tell me that," her response is this famous speech.
The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth, as a gentle rain from heaven, upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives, and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above the sceptred sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. An earthly power doth then show likest gods when mercy seasons justice. Therefore, Jew, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that in the course of justice none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy, and that same prayer doth teach us all to render the deeds of mercy. I have spoke thus much to mitigate the justice of thy plea, which if thou follow, the strict court of Venice must needs give sentence against the merchant there.
Isabella believes that men who try to play God are similar to apes who try to be men.
Could great men thunder as Jove himself does, Jove would ne'er be quiet, for every pelting, petty officer would use his heaven for thunder. Nothing but thunder! Merciful heaven, thou rather with thy sharp and sulphurous bolt splitst the unwedgeable and gnarled oak than the soft myrtle. But man, proud man, dressed in a little brief authority, most ignorant to what she is most assured. His glassy essence, like an angry ape, plays such fantastic tricks before high heaven as make the angels weep, who, with our spleens, would all themselves laugh mortal.
Prince Henry has lived a life of ease, wasting his time in taverns, much to his father, the king's, chagrin. Now he approaches his father and beseeches the king to give him a final chance to prove his manhood and his character.
Do not think so. You shall not find it so. And God forgive them that so much have swayed your majesty's good thoughts away from me. I will redeem all this on Percy's head. In the closing of some glorious day, be bold to tell you that I am your son. When I will wear a garment all of blood, and stain my favors in a bloody mask, which, washed away, shall scour my shame with it. And that shall be the day, when ere it lights, that this same child of honor and renown, this gallant Hotspur, this all-praised knight, and your unthought-of Harry chance to meet. For every honor sitting on his helm, would they were multitudes, and on my head my shame's redoubled. For the time will come that I shall make this northern youth exchange his glorious deeds for my indignities. Percy is but my factor, good my lord, to engross glorious deeds on my behalf, and I shall call him to so strict account that he shall render every glory up, yea, even the slightest worship of his time, or I will tear the reckoning from his heart. This in the name of God I promise here, the which if he be pleased I shall perform. I do beseech your majesty may salve the long-grown wounds of my intemperance. If not, the end of life cancels all bans, and I will die 100,000 deaths ere break the smallest parcel of this vow.
Titania, queen of the fairies, is arguing with Oberon, the king of the fairies. She accuses him of jealousy and claims that all the bad weather that the land is experiencing is because their relationship is not harmonious.
These are the forgeries of jealousy, and never since the middle summer spring met we on hill, in dale, forest, or mead, by paved fountain, or by rushy brook, or in the beached margent of the sea, to dance our ringlets to the whistling wind. But with thy brawls thou hast disturbed our sport. Therefore the winds, piping to us in vain, as in revenge, hath sucked up from the sea contagious fogs, which, falling in the land, hath made every pelting river so proud that they have overborne their continents. The ox hath therefore stretched his yoke in vain, the ploughman lost his sweat, and the green corn hath rotted ere his youth attained a beard. The fold stands empty in the drowned field, and crows are fatted with the murrian flock. The 9 men's morris is filled up with mud, and the quaint mazes in the wanton green, for lack of tread, are undistinguishable. The human mortals want their winter here. No night is now with hymn or carol blessed. Therefore the moon, the governess of floods, pale in her anger, washes all the air that rheumatic diseases do abound. And thorough this distemperature we see, the seasons alter. Hoary-headed frosts fall in the fresh lap of the crimson rose, and on old Hyam's thin and icy crown, an odorous chaplet of sweet summer buds is, as in mockery, set. The spring, the summer, the childing autumn, angry winter, changed their wonted liveries and the mazed world, and by their increase knows now not which is which. And these same progenies of evils come from our debate, from our dissension. We are their parents and original.
Benvolio, ever the peacekeeper, must explain why the prince's own cousin, Mercutio, and Tybalt both lie dead in the streets of Verona, and Romeo has escaped.
Tybalt, here slain, whom Romeo's hand did slay. Romeo that spoke him fair, bade him bethink how nice the quarrel was, and urged with all your high displeasure. All this uttered with gentle breath, calm look, knees humbly bowed, could not take truce with the unruly spleen of Tybalt, deaf to peace, but that he tilts with piercing steel at bold Mercutio's breast, who all is hot turns deadly point to point, and with a martial scorn, with one hand beats cold death aside, and with the other sends it back to Tybalt, whose dexterity retorts it. Romeo, he cries aloud, "Hold, friends, friends, part!" And swifter than his tongue, his agile arm beats down their fatal points, and twixt them rushes. Underneath whose arm an envious thrust from Tybalt hit the life of stout Mercutio. And then Tybalt fled. But by and by comes back to Romeo, who'd but newly entertained revenge. And to it they go like lightning. For ere I could draw to part them, was stout Tybalt slain. And as he fell, so then did Romeo turn and fly. This is the truth, or let Benvolio die.
The Tempest was Shakespeare's final play. In the first scene of Act 4, the character of Prospero consoles his daughter Miranda and Ferdinand after their wedding mask with the assurance that it was all an illusion. It is often taken to represent Shakespeare himself bidding farewell to his public and meditation on his own mortality.
Our revels now are ended, and these our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits, and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, aye, all which it inherit, shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with the sleep